right, so we just finished Silent Hill F. And as always, whenever we finish a game, we like to talk about it from a mechanical standpoint, from a story standpoint, and then I give an overall what I think about the game. So, mechanically speaking, this game plays a lot like what you would expect from a survival horror game. It's got your third person, action combat with it's got a little bit of a deviation though. It's not just your normal like stand around and attack things or shoot things. In fact, there is to my knowledge of our playthrough, there is no ranged weapons in this game, which is a little bit of a deviation than what you would expect. Most survival horror games do have ranged weapons. We did not find any in our playthrough. So that is interesting. It is melee specific. The melee does have a lot more mechanics to it. There is a dodge mechanic, there is a focus mechanic, there is a counterattack mechanic, there is actually a block mechanic with heavy weapons, there's charge mechanic, there's also some other mechanics with some stuff you do in the other world. We're going to keep this rather spoiler free. We're not gonna get into any details with the mechanics or the story. So that way people don't get spoiled, because this game just came out for a lot of people. As of recording, this is the 25th, so I don't want to spoil anybody's first playthrough. So this will be a spoiler-free review. But yeah, so it's got some more mechanics to the combat than you'd expect. I know the term Souls-like was being thrown around because it does have a stamina bar and everything. This does not feel like a Souls-like. It does not play like a Souls-like, so don't worry about that. If you're worried that this game might be a Souls-like, it's not. It does have an easy combat by default. In fact, the game defaults to what they call story combat. There is a hard combat if you're looking for that. There are 3 difficulties of puzzles. There is story, hard, and it's like Lost in the Fog, I believe, is what the third difficulty of puzzles are. So if you're interested in making puzzles harder for yourself, the game does default hard puzzles, but you can turn them down or turn them up to your liking, mechanically speaking. So you could do that. I will say we did get stuck on one puzzle at the end there, but I had the solution, but for some reason it didn't take the first time I did it. So when we looked it up, I did it again, and for some reason it was very weird. So we figured it out, and we were able to progress on. Trying to think if there's any other mechanics. There is quite a few puzzles in the game. There are boss fights. Again, we're trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible. So it's about what you would expect from a survival horror game. But it does advance. I feel like this is a good modernization of the kind of third person Silent Hill survival horror formula. So if you're expecting it to feel like Silent Hill, overall, I would say mechanically speaking, it does feel like an advancement of the Silent Hill formula, and in a good way. Once you get I will say the combat feels a little clunky at first, but once you get the hang of it, once you kind of know what to expect, it starts to kind of even out. I have not played it on hard. Hard might make it a little bit more wonky, but I could say playing it on story difficulty for the combat, it was definitely a fine experience. Now on to story. Again, this will be a spoiler-free review. I will say the story is very deep. There's a lot of complexity to the story. There's a lot of layers to the story. There's a lot to find for the story. There's a lot of moving parts in the story. Again, without any spoilers, there's a lot to find. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to do. Our playthrough trying to find every bit of lore we can find took about 15-ish hours. So if you want to find all the stuff for the story, and we probably still missed some things, expect it to be that long. There are quite a few characters, surprisingly. More characters than I would say probably any other Silent Hill, arguably. Not by much. I think it's only a few characters, but a few more characters than some Silent Hills. But it does have quite a few. It does have quite a few characters. So you do kind of build your story around those characters, and it is tied to them. And The world itself does evolve with the characters, and the characters do evolve with the world. It is they are intrinsically linked. The monsters you face are also intrinsically linked, as you would expect from Silent Hill. Um, Again, without any spoilers, I will say the story does get kind of, I don't know. I will say with all the layers, it does seem like it has maybe too much going on. I would say, um, like there is a lot to unpack. Some of it's more obvious than others, and by the end, I felt like I might have got lost a little bit. But again, without spoiling anything, we'll have to see how other people feel about the story once they get to the end of it. Again, as of the 25th, there's going to be a lot of people getting their hands on it, so we'll see what people have to say. So, overall, what do I think about Silent Hill F? I think this game doesn't necessarily feel like a Silent Hill. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just an interesting thing. The problem I have is not that it doesn't take place in a place that feels like Silent Hill. It's the fact that this game could have been a different game, and it could have been named something else and no one would know the difference. Um in all honesty. I actually had this same kind of issue with Resident Evil 7 and 8. Those games felt very much like they could have been called something else, and I really would not have been able to tell that they weren't Resident Evil games. And I feel very much the same with this game. I feel like this game could have been called like Spider Lily, or Beautiful Plague, or just something different. um Anything other than Silent Hill, and it probably would have been fine. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think as a Silent Hill like game in the franchise, it's nice to see it go into a different direction. I would love to see where the franchise moves from this point forward. Now that they've kind of established something outside of what you would expect from Silent Hill. Like, again, it's very different than what you'd expect. I would say that, again, this is the most non-feeling, like, or not even feeling, like, just, it's Silent Hill that, like, if you had not told me this was Silent Hill, I probably wouldn't think this was Silent Hill. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, because this is the first Silent Hill in 13 years, so sometimes you just got to do something new. And overall, I enjoyed my time with it. I will say when we got to the end, I might have been a little confused. But overall, I enjoyed my time with it. I legitimately don't really have many complaints with it. Like, once I got the hang of the combat, and we were dealing with the characters and the different fights and all of that stuff, it was really a really good experience. I like the design of it. I will say we did have a couple bugs, and the graphical bugs that we kept running into, which I know I've seen some other people run into, where the game will like shrink itself for some reason. I think it has something to do with the resolution, the way that like the like DLSS or something works with the game. Other than that, like, really didn't run into too many issues. The world is interesting enough to explore. There's a lot of things to find. There's a lot of like little hidden, like, if you read this thing, you can notice that thing. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Again, it has all of the like connective tissue of a Silent Hill game without feeling exactly like a Silent Hill game. And again, I think that might be good for the series, because if you want to move the series forward, sometimes you got to do something new. And there's a lot of new stuff here, and I think for the people that have never played a Silent Hill game, or if Silent Hill 2 was their first game, Silent Hill 2 remake specifically, I think there's a lot to enjoy here. I think it kind of advances what you would expect from that remake. I think the everything seems to be pretty well written. I think that everything's pretty well handled. from a context standpoint. It definitely makes sure that it makes it clear what it's talking about, but it's also approaching a very, sensitive topic, which the Silent Hill games have been known to do. So just to kind of wrap this up, overall, I don't give 10 out of 10s or 5 stars or anything like that. I usually give, do I recommend it? Do I not recommend it? I think if you like horror games, it's a good thing. I recommend it. If you like Silent Hill, I recommend it. If you like Silent Hill 2 remake and you want to try another Silent Hill, I recommend it. Like, in all honesty, I don't think there's a world, unless you just don't like horror games, where I don't recommend Silent Hill F. There's just nothing. There's nothing really that I think pushes back hard enough to make me think that I would not recommend this game. Maybe it's recency bias. Maybe it's just because we just finished it. Maybe once I spend some time away from it, I'll think of reasons that, maybe it's not so great. But as of right now, as of time of recording this, I think I would recommend Silent Hill F. I think it is a really good experience. I'm already thinking about, like, I want to do my next playthrough. But I legitimately think it is worth your time, especially if you like horror. I think there's a lot to offer. Again, it does get into some really touchy subjects, so keep that in mind. There is some touchy subjects, and if you want to take a little bit of a glance at it, of course, you can watch our playthrough. But that is going to do it for the review. So thank you so much for watching this review, and if you want to check out our other reviews, or if you want to check out our playthrough of the Silent Hill series, you can check that all out in the playlist down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next review. Bye-bye.